Clive is a teenager at the Naranja Academy who is around during Operation Starfall, as you do basically all the work. So for this video, I'm going to make him pull his own weight by completing the entire game as Clive, and imposing typical Hardcore Nuzlocke rules just to make things more fun. Before we begin, let me know which of his Pokemon is your favorite. Clive is supposed to have a Quaxley-like hairstyle, but for whatever reason, Game Freak, much like a lame middle school, imposes a dress code on me. Well, this hair still looks kinda hip, right? Anyway, my name is Clive, and I am a brand new and young, emphasis on the young, student at this school that I have never seen before in my entire life. I especially haven't been in the director's office, like, at all. I start my journey by talking to my mom downstairs, who is certainly not an actor I'm paying to protect any secret identity. Why would you suggest that? Even though I haven't gotten to the school yet, there's this rumor going around that I, Clive, and Director Clawball are the same person. Obviously this is nonsense. Here is the director in the same room as me. See? And here I am again. Oh, you want to see the director again? Give me a second, let me go upstairs to get changed. I mean to grab my hat. And here is the director showing off some Pokemon. Convinced yet? Now that we have that cleared up, it's time to pick a starter. Clive uses all three, so I get to choose any of them. And as much as I like Fuecoco, there is another early game fire Pokemon I can get, so the best option, at least in my opinion, is Sprigatito. The Flower Cat, Chad, easily defeats my so-called rival, and I encounter a Super Saiyan Dragon. I mean, he's cool and all, but there are countless Houndours in this cave I would much rather have, even though he scares them away. Jumping ahead a bit, I help this lass with her star problem, but she is so flustered that she forgets how to walk, accidentally quantum tunneling through some stairs. Nimona and I pretend like we didn't just see the laws of physics break down. I set foot in the school, walking up the stairs like a normal person, and meet a bunch of kids my own age. How do you do, fellow teenagers? Actually, I might be the youngest one here. If, for some reason, you still think I'm the director, I present to you Exhibit A, getting called to the principal's office while I'm standing right here. How could I be the director if he just made an announcement? It's not like he has access to a high-tech gizmo and can use a pre-recorded voice or anything like that. In the director's office, I meet Professor Sada for the first time and learn all about Area Zero, which is exactly the type of place a rebellious teenager, like myself, would love to explore. So going there is my new life goal. Isn't it ironic then that I need to be responsible and help 3 other students before I can get there? It's like rain on your adventure day. But that's quite enough of that, let's get started for real. With that, it's time to talk about this video sponsor, Gear Up Booster. As someone who plays video games more than I should, it's important to reduce lag as much as possible. And that's exactly what Gear Up Booster does. Countless games are supported here, including Pokemon. If you, unlike me, actually have Poke-Friends, you can play together and reduce your lag as you walk around the overworld, battle in terror raids, anything you want to do. You can boost PC or console games, either from your PC or even from your iPhone or Android on the Google Play Store. If you have any issues, feel free to contact their support. And if you're interested on how to boost games on the Switch specifically, go ahead and check out these guidelines that tell you step by step what you need to do. Now be aware that depending on your region and how strong your internet already is, your results may vary. But that's why you can click on the link I'm providing and try it out completely free. The only downside of games running smoother is that you can no longer blame lag when a 10-year-old beats you in Fortnite. But I'm sure that never happens to anyone. I return to the Houndour cave and get payback on the mom who scared me away by kidnapping one of her babies. That's our proportionate response, isn't it? I then spend an embarrassing large amount of time trying to catch some Magikarps just beyond my reach. This is quite pathetic, actually. I eventually do find a stupid one flopping around on the shore. Typical, leave me with the dummy, but it's either her or nothing. And this is why I decided to start with Sprigatito, because now I already have the 3 starter types on my team, so the Flower Cat is the most diverse option. I push an obnoxiously large olive into a giant net, which convinces Katie to fight me. By the way, in this run, I will still allow terrestrializing my Pokemon, because my run, my rules, but I won't go dramatically out of my way to get overpowered TMs for my Pokemon. I think that's a fair trade-off. Regardless, Katie's bugs obviously stand no chance against Jimmy, the fire dog. Since I'm not going to go get Flamethrower or any overpowered TM, I do need to terrestrialize so I can get the added boost to take out the Tarantula and the Buggy Ursa. Though the Buggy Ursa still survives, and almost takes me out with a single Fury Swipes. That would have been a great start. Still, Jimmy made it out alive, and I am 1 badge and 10 pounds heavier. I just can't eat as much junk food as I used to. I mean, we teenagers can eat anything we want and gain no weight. Am I right? It's great being a teenager. We teenagers also need to stick together. So how about you show how young you actually are by subscribing to Nuzlocke Joe? After all, Pokemon is a young man's game, isn't it? Before heading to the next major battle, Chad evolves and becomes even more Chad-like. I have to literally walk into this crab to get him to notice me, and Chad takes him out in just 2 hits. After taking a small lunch break, we begin round 2. Now, this might have been difficult if the Titan had decided to attack me at all. Instead, he chooses to focus on Arven's Shelter, aka Bait, so Chad wins this battle completely unscathed. To celebrate my victory, we go for second breakfast, but Koraidon eats my sandwich like a bully. I was prepared for students to bully me for my unusually youthful appearance, but not Pokemon. At least these 10 Sunflora like me. They'd follow me to the ends of Paldea. Or to this corral. After getting the Aerial Ace TM for beating up some people, crime does pay in this case, I return to face off against Brassius and his Gracious Pokemon. As you might have guessed, I lead with Chad, who now knows how to Aerial Ace. Getting that TM was fair game because I was already there. I use 1 hit against the Petal, then decide to Hone Claws a few times. Jimmy the Houndour could take out most of these Pokemon, but he might fall against the Sudowoodo, so I don't want to risk it. Anyway, after 2 Hone Claws, I take it out. The small Olive falls in a single hit, of course. The Rock Tree has some pretty good defenses, and sturdy besides, but all he wants to do is Trailblaze. But everyone knows that trees don't walk good, so that is still not enough, and Chad is the winner. Before facing the next giant Pokemon, Brittany, the flopping Magikarp, evolves into a vicious Knot Dragon. But she can relearn Ice Fang, which may or may not be immediately useful. As I'm attacked by this bird, Brittany comes out of her Pokeball to defend me. Maybe she's not so bad after all. I Terastallize to lose her flying type in anticipation of a rock throw that never ends up coming. 2 Ice Fangs and I take out the bird. Arven shows up just in time for round 2, and even though my Terra Orb was recharged, somehow, Brittany was not healed. That doesn't make a ton of sense. So a Pluck takes me down really low as Brittany and even Nacli deal a ton of damage. I stay in for 1 more Ice Fang and don't get punished for it. Lunchtime again, this time with some sick dog who doesn't even look that hungry. And now, it's finally time to head to our first Team Star base, where I defeat all of these randos and face Guacamole. His Pawniard is weak to fire, so Jimmy takes him right out. The Revavroom is a bit more difficult, however, because Incinerate doesn't do all that much. And after only 2 hits, it's time to swap to Brittany. She tanks a Swift, heals with some leftovers, and proceeds to waterboard this car, which isn't very effective because cars don't actually need to breathe. The more you know. With the leftovers healing that Brittany's getting though, there is no real risk here, so this can take as long as it needs to. And that went reasonably well. I'm then treated to a flashback, but I talked about this in my last Scarlet video. It's a run where I completed Starfall Street as Penny. You should check it out, so I'm going to skip it. And I'm actually skipping a lot of the story commentary because I don't want it to be too long. Skipping ahead to the 3rd gym, here I am minding my own business.
You've got mail.
And Nimona pops up for no reason. But Chad seed bombs his way through her team. Nimona is not that great. Aside from the Quaxel, who does actually survive and deals a ton of damage with a wing attack. I guess I should have Terastallized like him, but I didn't think I would need it. Oh well. To gain access to the gym, I play Where's Waldo with this guy who is certainly not me, but at the last minute, I decide to go look for a few more encounters. In the Tag Tree Thicket, I find a Fungus who is not a fungus. Lame. Meaning that the encounter I get here is actually this monkey. I was hoping for another grass type for the 3rd gym, but Fungus would probably have been over the level cap anyway. In some mountains, I also find a phony Sinistee who is also over the level cap. So, I just need to work with what I've got. Brittany, the water flying type, leads the charge against Iono's electric Pokemon. A single waterfall is enough to take out the Wattrel, and the crit was unnecessary. Brittany obviously baits out a Spark, so I pivot to Chad against the Bellibolt, who tanks the hit. I need to set up a few Hone Claws here, and am immediately paralyzed. But that's okay, I came prepared for that. I had initially planned on using a grassy terrain to heal here and give my grass moves a bit of a boost, but I needed a way to counter the possibility of multiple paralyses. Paralysis I don't know. Anyway, Once I've sharpened my claws, Chad takes a little siesta and continues to heal with leftovers. I terrestrialize my sleeping Pokemon, which seems a bit funny to me that you can do that, but once he wakes up, a single Seed Bomb is all that I need. Because of the Luxio's Intimidate, I need to hone my claws again before getting a much needed speed boost with Trailblaze. I needed that speed boost so I could outspeed the Miss Magius, who is no longer a ghost, and then falls to a single Seed Bomb. This fight would have been much more difficult if I hadn't chosen the Grass Starter. For my incredible victory, Jimmy evolves. I didn't realize he evolved so early. For some reason I thought it was later. I don't know why. Guarding the entrance to the next star base is a grunt with a Jimmy wannabe. But I don't take kindly to copycats, so Brittany drowns them all. And since Ashley, the Oranguru, is now under the level cap, she can participate in this free-for-all as well. Good for her. For the Mela fight, I really wanted to lead with Chad to bait out a fire move and then pivot into Jimmy to absorb it with Flash Fire. The only problem is, Jimmy likes to wake up early, so he doesn't have Flash Fire. Instead, I just lead with Brittany. She makes it rain, takes like 3 damage from the Torkoal's Flame Wheel, and then one-shots him with a Waterfall. For the Reveroom, I could have terrestrialized to one-shot this guy, but it's not necessary because he basically can't do any damage to me. And that was remarkably easy. After some more flashbacks, it's time to chase a worm. I eventually do get this guy with his little worm legs, and just for fun, terrestrialize, use a nasty plot, and burn him to a crisp with a single Incinerate. There's some more worm chases, until eventually, Arvin and I corner this big guy. I decide to not terrestrialize this time, because it's not really necessary. And I'm proven right, after a nasty plot Incinerate takes him immediately out. He couldn't even hit me with Iron Tail this time. We take another lunch break, and Koraidon gains the ability to super jump, which is just like a regular jump, but bigger, which is cool, but I want to climb already. Come on. Jumping ahead to the next gym test, I've been working on my bidding skills for the past month, and it looks like my practice has paid off, since I get this seaweed for only 35,000 Pokédollars, which is the lowest I've ever gotten it. Now, it's on to the real gym. Kofu leads with his Psychic Fish, and I with my Psychic Monkey. This is the first time I'm actually using Ashley. She takes an Aqua Cutter, uses a Swift, and is promptly replaced by Chad, a Pokemon I actually like. Sorry Ashley, you're just too slow here. A terrestrialized Trailblaze wouldn't have killed the Velusa at full HP, and it has Pluck, which is a flying move, but with that Swift, Chad does knock it out, and gets the speed boost. And I needed that to outspeed the Wugtrio, or else he could have flinched me with his Headbutt. With that terrestrialized and grassy field boost, a single Seed Bomb that doesn't make contact, by the way, avoids this ability and takes out the Wugtrio. Last is Crabominable, who becomes Water type and immediately dies as a result. Shoulda had hindsight, Kofu. After defeating this remarkably small man, he looked way bigger during our battle. I returned to the auction in search of a cracked pot. This is the only way to evolve Skylar, my phony Sinistee. I don't find one, but then this guy notices that I'm out of Hondu berries and offers me a lifetime supply. And what, pray tell, would I need 46 Hondu berries for? For the Poison Atticus battle, I was hoping to have Skylar evolved by now, so I could use him, but I'm not having much luck in the auctions, even though I'm trying multiple times a day. Instead, I leave with Brittany, who is kinda my go-to right now, and decide to set up with Dragon Dance. I only wanted to use 2, but this Skuntank keeps trying a Sucker Punch, which means if I do an attacking move, I'm going to be hit. So I might as well just spam it, and after 3 dances, she decides to poison me. Brittany heals with a berry, but I guess it's safe to attack now? Or not. And then she flinches me because of course she does. Next turn though, an Earthquake takes out the Skuntank. Next is Muck. He and the smaller Reveroom both fall to a single Earthquake apiece. The larger Reveroom does survive the hit, which I didn't think he would, but he tries to match my speed by using a Flame Charge, which coincidentally only does 3 damage, just like the Torkoal's Flame Wheel from a few minutes ago. After shrugging off that pathetic tickle, Brittany destroys yet another member of Team Star. Against Larry, I once again wanted to use Skylar, but I still haven't found a cracked pot, and I've checked so many times already. Instead, I lead with Chad, and then immediately swap into Skylar on a slam. This might not make a ton of sense right now, but you'll see why Chad was in front soon enough. After stalling a bit, the Kamala finally uses Yawn. This means I can pivot into Jimmy on a Sucker Punch, and I don't need to be concerned about falling asleep. I use a Nasty Plot, and instead of another Yawn, like I was expecting, he hits me with a Slam. Okay, that was not great, because a crit might have straight up killed me. Either way, he then falls to a +2 special attack Flamethrower. The Dunsparce is a bit bulkier, so I actually need to Terrastallize to take him out. Last, the Staraptor is outsped and also falls to a single Flamethrower. I didn't need to be Terrastalized for that bird, just for the whatever the heck Dunsparce is. Now, right after the gym battle, I immediately faced Nemona without any time to change around my Pokemon. And this is why I had Chad in front for that gym battle. Lycanroc hits with a priority Accelerock before taking a Flower Trick. Next is Gumi, so out comes Brittany to tank a Dragon Pulse, she has pretty good defenses, heal with Leftovers, and one-shot with an Earthquake. This bits out Palmo, who I could easily Earthquake, but I need Chad to come back out to avoid a Thunder Wave and respond with a Flower Trick. After they both Terrastalize, Chad takes out the Water Duck with one last trick. Easy peasy. On my way up a snowy mountain, because all kids love mountains, right? I get another encounter, a Snover called Jessica. And then I head to a concert by MC Sledge, because kids these days love rocks and roll, as well as the hippie hops. I mean, I like them too, because I am also a teenager. Unlike some Pokemon, Jessica actually chooses to evolve after only being on the team for 5 whole seconds. You should learn from this, Skylar. Rhyme and I lay down some sick beats as she leads with Bayonet and Mimikyu against Jimmy and Chad. Chad breaks the Mimikyu's disguise as Jimmy one-shots the Bayonet with a Dark Pulse. This fight is always super easy because of the stat boost that the crowds give you. Another Flower Trick finishes off the Mimikyu, and another Dark Pulse for the Houndstone, because my Dark Dog is much better than her Ghost one. Last is Toxtricity, but with all of these stat boosts I've been getting, he stands absolutely no chance. And like every other teenager, I then take a selfie to show all my friends just how much I love loud, obnoxious music and ridiculous crowds. Concerts are so fun. With 6 badges under my belt, I can finally buy some nature-changing mitts. The only problem is they are stupid expensive. So I have to sell a ton of things, including, but not limited to, my very soul. I don't need that, right? For some reason, my eyesight failed me here, and I didn't see this fat tusk until I walked directly into him. I'm too young to need glasses. What's going on here? Brittany takes a pretty strong critical Brick Break, but then knocks him out with a couple of waterfalls. For round 2, I am joined by the similarly aged Arven and his Scovillian. This guy actually does help quite a bit, to be honest. First, by slowing down the Tusk, and then finishing him off with a Razor Leaf. That was some solid teamwork. Good job, Arven. It's at this point I realized that I missed an encounter. For some reason, I thought there was only one other Fungus location, and it was at a much higher level. But nope, I can get him right here. Before I can get another badge, Nemona thinks it would be fun to jump me yet again. This is what happens when you look too young in high school. Unfortunately for her, a Terrastalized Chad destroys her whole team, one-shotting everybody and never even getting hit. Wow, Nemona, that was kinda pathetic. I actually feel sorry for her now. After my incredible victory, I make one last failed trip to the auction house. But by this point, my patience is wearing as thin as this old man's hair. So, I just open my bag, pull a crackpot out of thin air, how'd that get in there, and evolve Skylar. You have no idea how long I've been dying to use this guy. You know, because he's a ghost. And while we're at it, I should evolve Zoe the Fungus as well. And with that, I start the battle against Tulip. I'm pretty excited for this strat, by the way. I leave with Chad, whose only purpose is to U-turn into a newly evolved Zoe. She tanks a Crunch, poisons this guy, apparently, that wasn't part of the plan, but it's fine, and baits out a Zen Headbutt, meaning I can pivot into Skylar to tank the hit and Fairy Giraffe misses. Now, normally, I don't mind my opponents missing. I'm in favor of it, actually, but here, I really needed to take that hit to activate Skylar's weak armor, because without it, he is too slow to sweep through Tulip's team. So it's time for a change of plans. I pivot back to Chad as the Fairy Giraffe dies to poison, bringing out Gardevoir. Now this fairy has Dazzling Gleam, so Chad U-turns again, this time into Brittany, who can take the hit, heal with Leftovers, and respond with a Waterfall. The Espathra who comes out next outspeeds, deals a ton of damage with Psychic, and survives the Crunch. Well darn. At this HP, I could totally die, so I swap into Skylar. I guess I must have forgotten that weak armor only activates when there is physical contact, because there is no other reason that I can think of for being this stupid. I really should have just pivoted to one of my 2 dark types. It's not like I don't have options. So, to make up for it, I bring out Zoe on a Shadow Ball, baiting out a Psychic for Chad. Which, if you're keeping track, This is the third time he's been out during this battle. Make up your mind, Chad, jeesh. A single Night Slash takes out this ostrich, finally. Last is Tulip's Florges, who terastallizes, just like me. I'm confident a Night Slash will take out this flower, but I lose my Dark type just in case. That fight didn't go quite how I anticipated or planned, and I was really excited to use Skylar, so hopefully he will get some time to shine in the future. I then head directly to Grusha, the last gym leader, after shredding some snow like all the cool kids. To begin with, Jimmy uses a nasty plot and terastallizes, making Bug not very effective. Instead of a Bug Buzz though, this moth uses Tailwind, giving his team members a speed boost. But after a flame charge, Jimmy should still be fast enough. I was prepared for that sucker. As expected, Jimmy then outspeeds and burns through the rest of Grusha's team, even the dragon turned ice Pokemon, who is a good demon dog. Now even though I have all 8 badges, I can't go to the Elite Four just yet. There are still a couple of Team Star losers to depose and a Titan's food supply to pillage. So let's start with Ortega, the Fairy Boy. For this battle, I use Ashley, the Oranguru. After setting up a Trick Room, she is immediately replaced with Zoe, who is hit by an Aqua Tail, putting the Azumarill to sleep, which is nice, but more importantly, getting a special attack boost thanks to an Absorb Bulb. With that Trick Room, Zoe outspeeds and kills the Azumarill in his sleep. The Wigglytuff can't survive a Sludge Bomb, nor can the Doxbun. Last is the Revavroom, who does survive even a Terra boosted Sludge Bomb just as the Trick Room fades. He confuses Zoe, who promptly hits herself in the face. I obviously don't have a Parasol Berry because I needed that attack boost from the Absorb Bulb, but that's fine. I pivot to Brittany on a Magical Torque. She also gets confused, but then heals it and finishes off the battle with a single Waterfall. And as always, I'm rewarded with this flashback cutscene, which I think we've already seen multiple times, so who cares? What I do care about is defeating the very last Team Star member, Eri. I'm going to try to use Skylar here, and since this Toxicroak has Sucker Punch, I can just spam Calm Mind for the first 5 turns. I don't need that much of a boost, not even close, but I need to wait this guy out. I do actually need him to hit me before moving on, so I use a 6th Calm Mind as he finally swaps to Poison Jab, which does basically nothing aside from activating my weak armor. I did have a berry to heal poison just in case. With all of those ridiculous buffs, Stored Power is now a 300 base power psychic move. Not to mention the fact that Skylar's special attack is stupid high, so as you might expect, the rest of her team stands no chance. And thanks to weak armor, he outspeeds all of them. This is more or less how the Tulip fight was supposed to go if her Fairy Giraffe hadn't missed me like a loser. He couldn't hit the broadside of a tea kettle. With that, it's time to fly to this lake to find the last Titan. It's close enough I should be able to glide there, right? Until I lose all my forward momentum and fall like a rock. Great flying, dragon. Now I can't actually remember how to activate this next Titan battle. I know you need to interact with a fish, but apparently it's not this one, or that one either. After massacring a couple more fishes, I finally get the right guy, who is immediately eaten. Now I don't feel so bad about killing the other ones. Zoe tanks a couple of hits from this Dondozo and responds with 2 Giga Drains, forcing the false Titan to swim away. As soon as I chase him down, Arven, as always, appears out of nowhere to try and hog all the glory for himself. We have a rematch of the last battle, where 2 Giga Drains takes out the Dondozo, forcing him to spit up his lunch, who also gets really buffed. Anticipating an ice move, Zoe terastallizes to lose her grass type, tanks an icy wind, and doesn't do all that much with a Sludge Bomb. Still, Arven's Greedent actually does some damage, but more importantly, diverts attention away from my very important Pokemon. Greedent does die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But the cameraman was apparently very distressed at this death. Great angle there. And for the second battle in just a few minutes, Zoe did a freaking great job in spite of being ridiculously slow. After eating one last sandwich, we have a heartfelt moment that I'm not going to share because I'll probably do an Arven video at some point in the future, and I need to save some material for that one. Anyway, without even studying, I passed this stupid Elite Four test. I wish all my exams were that easy. But now it's time for the slightly harder part. Rika leads with Wishcash and I with Chad, but her ground fish will fall in a single hit. I need to terastallize to make sure that my neutral flower trick does take out the camera. For the Dawn fan, I pivot to Skylar, who just so happens to have a rocky helmet, which breaks the Dawn fan sturdy. He also gets a speed boost here, and takes out the ground elephant with a single Giga Drain. Against Dugtrio, I swap back into Chad on a Sandstorm, and then take out this Knotwug trio. Last is the Clodsire, who simply delays the inevitable by using Protect, before falling to one last flower trick. Rika is always really easy when you start with Sprigatito, or have basically any other grass Pokemon. Next is Poppy, and as you might expect, I lead with an Expert Belted Jimmy to Flamethrower through her team. Now, in the interest of being honest here, I did accidentally overlevel my Pokemon here by a single level, but I didn't notice until after the battle. So I'm sorry about that. I hope the run is still legitimate in your eyes. Since the Magneton did light screen me, the Tinkaton will not fall in one hit. I was kind of afraid of that. So I protect against a Stone Edge before pivoting to Jessica, the Abomasnow, for the very first time. She avoids a Stone Edge, that was awesome. Then I go right back to Jimmy on a not very effective Gigaton Hammer, and holy crap, that still did a ton! A critical there would have been not great. My poor planning goes unpunished, however, as the light screen wears off and a single Flamethrower takes her out. Now it's on to everyone's favorite character, Larry. I lead with a Dragon Dancing Brittany as Tropius sets up the sun to try and outspeed, but he is still too slow and falls to an Ice Fang. The Staraptor comes out next, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I had a bit more time, but that's okay, let's see how it goes. I go for a Rain Dance. My legless Gyarados apparently really likes to dance, take a Brave Bird, that even a crit would have been okay, and respond with a Terra Rain Boosted Waterfall. The Altaria falls to a 4 times effective Ice Fang, the Oricorio to another Waterfall, and the Flamingo to yet another Waterfall. I had hoped to have the rain set up before the Staraptor came out, but things still worked out okay. For the Dragon Leader Hassel, he is actually going to be hassle-free, because I start with Skylar, who finally learned his best move, Shell Smash. That thing is the bomb. The Noivern outspeeds, for now, to hit with a Dragon Pulse that doesn't do too much. My Shell Smash in turn sharply boosts attack, special attack, and speed in exchange for a defense loss. But Skylar doesn't plan on getting hit anymore, so we're all good. A Spell Tag boosted Shadow Ball takes out the bat. The Haxorus similarly falls in a Shadow Ball, while the Dragalge takes a 140 stored power. And then we're right back to Shadow Ball for the Flying Apple, as well as the Terastallized Dragon in the back. Shell Smash is such a freaking awesome move. Only one last person stands between me and the championship. Geeta, of course. Jimmy takes out her Espathra with a single Dark Pulse, which was so awesome that Geeta gives me not 1, but 2 standing ovations. A bit weird, but I'll allow it. This brings out the Avalugg, who can't stand the Flamethrower's heat. King Gambit gets his dead friend boost, but still can't withstand Jimmy's fury. With a name like Jimmy, he's obviously going to be a beast. Against Velusa, I bring out Zoe because I'm concerned about his priority Aqua Jet, and he doesn't even use it. That's okay. She stays in to get a special attack boost, and I take a freaking ton from Psycho Cat. Not gonna lie, I totally forgot she had that move. I was expecting an Ice Beam, so that was 100% on me. After Velusa falls, I pivot back to Jimmy on a Zen Headbutt, and take out the Go-Goat with a Flamethrower. I guess I should have left Jimmy in, I suppose. For Geeta's ace, I decide to bring out mine. Chad takes virtually nothing from an Earth Power, and responds with his own Terra boosted move to finish her off. With that, I am not only a champion level trainer, but I'm by far the youngest one ever. You know, because I'm basically just a kid. Back in Mesagosa, it's time to fight Director Clavel, aka Cassiopeia. You see, he does have a secret identity, but it's not Clive, because I am Clive. He does use the same Pokemon as me, but that's just a coincidence, I'm sure. Chad starts off with a Hone Claws, and takes out his monkey with a Night Slash, as some random kid just walks through a Pokemon battle. What the heck are you doing, fellow kid? Chad obviously wakes up with a Chesto Berry, just in time for the Abomasnow to start some snow, and get low-kicked. The Gyarados survives the Flower Trick, but only hits with a weak Stone Edge. By the way, it appears to be snowing and raining at the same time, so that's kinda weird, huh? Clavel's Poltegeist falls to a Night Slash, but Chad's Reign of Terror has to end here. Jimmy is Giga Drained as the snow stops, but not the rain. Rhyme would be super proud of my new rapping skills. The Mushroom immediately falls in spite of the rain. For Skeledirge, I naturally pivot to Brittany on an Earth Power as a Psyduck and another rando walk through our battle. What's worse is that all of a sudden, the rain decides to stop. So Waterfall is not a one-hit KO. What is going on with this battle? Brittany wins in one more hit, and then we see that the first trainer has been watching us the entire time. That was kinda weird. Before facing the real Cassiopeia, because Clavel was apparently lying to me, makes me wonder what else he's lied about, I decided to go help Arven break into his mama's lab. Probably should have done this earlier, to be honest. Arven then wants to throw his barely real-live dog straight into a battle. Doesn't he need some rest first?
They ask you how you are.
But apparently not. He leads with Greedent, and I with Brittany. But I only wanted to intimidate the fat squirrel and pivot to Skylar on a body slam. I use Skylar's best move, Shell Smash, tank an Earthquake to get even faster, and then baton pass right into Ashley, the Oranguru, on another Earthquake. Stored power is now at 240 power and gets a stab boost, so Ashley should be good to go. I mean, I could have baton passed into basically anybody to sweep with all of those boosts, but I wanted to use stored power with a psychic Pokemon. The Garganacl is hit by an energy ball instead, as is the Cloyster, just to mix things up a bit. Since Mabostiff is a dark type, I use a Hyper Beam here instead. Ashley did have a wide lens, so there was only a 1% chance to miss, instead of the normal 10. And, well, it doesn't miss, so I win. Ashley has now actually contributed to this run in a very real way. Good job, and the first of my paths is now complete. And now it's time to face the real Cassiopeia, girl who ignores the stairs. We both start with our dark Pokemon, and her Umbreon survives the flower trick, which is okay, but then she proceeds to lower my attack 2 times as I plant some grass and take out this dark fox. For the Leafeon, Jimmy comes out on a neutral X Scizor and burns his Leafy opponent with a single attack. This baits out Vaporeon, of course, so Chad makes a return on a Hydro Pump and then one-shots this guy as well. And now the Flareon comes out. Brittany lowers his attack, tanks a Flare Blitz, and does knock him out even after her attack is lowered too. For her Jolteon, I pivot to Zoe on a Thunder and stall a bit to heal with Black Sludge. Thunder almost immediately paralyzes me, which is unfortunate, but there really wasn't much I could do. I needed the healing here. A couple of hits takes out the Jolteon. Last is her Sylveon. After we both Terrastalize, I get hit by a Shadow Ball and respond with a much stronger Sludge Bomb, but it's not quite a one-hit KO. Zoe is hit by a Moonblast next turn and gets fully paralyzed. So close. I only needed one more hit. So I bring out Brittany, who almost dies to a Moonblast, actually, that was closer than I thought, and uses a single Waterfall to knock out Sylveon. Eat that, Penny. 2 paths down, only 1 to go. And then I can achieve my dream of being a hooligan. It's time to face Nimona. For whatever reason, she decides to pick a fight with my young self in front of the entire student body. Not a good move there, girl, because she is in for a surprise. Chad, of course. He uses a single Hone Claw, takes a bit more from Stone Edge than I had hoped, but still takes out the Wererock with a Flower Trick. Next is her Palmot, who also falls to Chad's tricks. Now the Goodra is the real reason I needed a Hone Claws here, not for the attack boost, but to make Play Rough 99% accurate instead of only 90. And the Goodra falls to an unnecessary critical hit. For her Orthopedic Worm, Skylar comes out to avoid a body press, and is promptly replaced by Jimmy, who can tank the Iron Tail Skylar baited out. Jimmy then proceeds to show us how to properly eat fried worms. He is replaced by Brittany against the Dunsparce, because I was expecting a ground-type drill run, not a hyper drill here. Oh well, Brittany takes it pretty well, does a bit of waterfall damage as the Dunsparce uses Coil. I pivot back into Skylar on a hyper drill, I did see that coming this time, and give myself a double special attack boost with Nasty Plot, as this Kind Soul activates my weak armor to give me a speed boost. After some leftovers healing, just in case, I reward this Pokemon with a Psychic. Her last Pokemon is Quaquaval, and after we both Terrastalize, a single Shadow Ball is all Skylar needs. This teapot is actually pretty awesome, and now I feel bad about making a girl cry. But not too bad, because after finishing my 3rd path, I can finally complete my lifelong goal, as of 30 minutes ago, to enter Area 0. But first, the thing on top of this gate looks oddly familiar. Don't tell me, is that...
A new hand touches the beacon.
Fell for it again. It's a weird feeling when friends from different social circles meet up for the first time. That's basically what's happening here, but not really, because they're not my friends. My acquaintances and I make our way to the perimeter door that Professor Sada opens. I deny bringing my dragon cycle along, but she calls me a liar. Then why did you ask in the first place if you already knew? Anyway, with his gliding abilities, we should be able to jump into a great big hole. And even though he's my ride, these so-called friends commit Grand Theft Dragon and force me to hold on for dear life. As a side note, but this is very important, can you imagine the strength that Arvin must have to pull me forward like that? In spite of our enormous forward and downward momentum, he must work out. When we reach the bottom, we are one member short. Nimona must have fallen off and died mid-flight. What a tragedy. Dang it. Can't I have any good luck around here? Sada tells us to break open 4 locks so we can gain access to where she's been hiding and she can stop neglecting her son. As Nimona breaks the 4th wall. How does she know she's in a video game? As we traverse this dangerous landscape, Nimona and Penny try to compete to see who is better friends with me. Sorry to break it to you ladies, but it's obviously Arvin. Bros before, not bros. A tiny little Glamora is guarding the entrance to the first research station, and as much as I love Glamora, it can't send up to a drill run, waterfall combo. After activating the first lock, we hear Arvin's sad backstory. And don't get me wrong, it is sad, but like every character in One Piece has a much more tragic beginning. Even the Straw Hat's cotton candy loving pet. But we're not supposed to compare traumas, I suppose, because if we were, then being accused of secretly being an old man pretending to be a student would be at the top of the list. Guarding the second station, we encounter a Pokemon that is clearly not a Jigglypuff. Anyone with eyes can see that thing is different. And to her credit, the super smart Penny does eventually see that after the thing attacks her and she realizes it's a vampire. Now the camera angle for this whole fight is kinda messed up, but the Screamtail outspeeds and hits Skylar with a critical play rough. He in turn uses Shell Smash, is now faster, and Shadow Balls this tail into oblivion. Get out of here, you Jigglypuff wannabe. We disable the second lock, and Arvin pawns his responsibilities onto me by giving me this Scarlet book. A Great Tusk attacks us, but Arvin and I are experts with Titan Pokemon at this point. So much so that this Dawn fan gets double intimidated. But it doesn't actually matter because he also never gets a chance to attack. I told you we were experts. At the location of the last lock, there is a glitch in the matrix and the professor gets really creepy. Then I find out that I got stuck with the Dragon Cycle who can't even fight. Show some backbone, man. We have a couple of uneventful battles, and I finally get to meet this chat GPT I've been hearing all about. It's apparently a very powerful AI who has been continuing the real professor's research in spite of her already being dead. So AI Sada asks me to stop the progress of science. Sure, why not? Kids hate math and science anyway. Now, as cool as the optics are, with her standing so far above me on a tower, I feel like throwing your Pokemon down a 100-foot cliff should probably damage them at least a little bit. I mean, if little spikes on the ground can be an entry hazard, so can slamming them into the floor. Either way, Jimmy flamethrowers her first Pokemon, as the now leet-speaking AI is surprised that I know bug Pokemon are weak to fire. Chad comes out on the Brute's Earth Power, but it only did 20 damage, so calm down, Sada. He hones his claws on a useless Sucker Punch, and that should be enough. I only need one. A single Play Rough takes him out. The Screamtail falls to a Terra-boosted Flower Trick, and the same thing happens to the Fluttermane because Chad is just too strong and fast. And the Sandy Shocks also falls. This is not a super exciting last battle. Finally, Roaring Moon comes out and gets an attack boost, but one last Play Rough is all that Chad needs. Man, this cat is really legit. The Grass Starter isn't normally my favorite, because it's basically always fire, that's just how I've been, but in this generation, I'm not so sure. Anyway, just like Dwight Schrute, I have officially beaten the computer. Except she then cheats by locking up all my Pokeballs. Well, that's not really fair now, is it? But who needs a Pokeball when you have a Pokédoll? That doesn't work either. Instead, I send out my Lizard, who wants to try and fight this time. This battle is going remarkably not well, actually. That is, until Plot Armor finally kicks in, and I get access to a Dragon move, even though he should have had one all along. This allows me to finally defeat Professor GPT and save the world. All of my detractors thought I couldn't do it. I was too young, they said. Or I look just like Director Clavel, they claimed. All nonsense, as I have finally proven. Before we take off though, I want to end this video with a round of Who's That MVP. It should come as no surprise that my top choice in this run was certainly Meowscarada. Shad was the stereotypical strong jock, as I was hoping for, and he carried the run in so many instances. So obviously, he's my top pick. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you appreciated this video, and you're able to, consider looking at my Patreon or YouTube membership. That's the best way you can directly support videos just like this one. And in case you're not subscribed, I have some pretty unique ideas coming in the near future. I don't think you want to miss it.